All right. We're back in business. It's COMP 2007, Enterprise Computing, Summer 2016, Week 5, Part 1 of our broadcast. And I'm still sick, but it's okay. What we're doing is today is talking about a couple things. Just finished off our little survey. So all the surveys are done. I want to talk about a couple things today. One of them is just to clarify, here the Slack, right? Clarify some stuff about our game tracker assignment. So I want to bring this up so we can talk about it. So some people asked about this thing. They said, "Hey Tom, you know, I don't know what to do to put this Slack's on my mind. This part 1 together. What do I do? How do I get marked for it?" Well, the way you get marked for it is there's a rubric that's online on your Blackboard. And it's going to show you where all the marks are distributed, but it'll be almost identical to this. For your initial project structure setup, you get 4 marks, site structure, and that includes things like do you have the right folder structure, assets, content, scripts, and so on. Page comment headers. So one of the internal documentation pieces is you have to do page comment headers with you and your partner's name, your student number, all that kind of stuff in place, as well as the date that the document was created, the purpose of the document, all that kind of stuff. I only want you to include page comment headers on your C# files. Okay, please don't include them on CSS and HTML, and that's JavaScript. It's too much, right? Although if you did a lot of JavaScript, then potentially that might be another place you want to put it because it's an original file that you kind of put together. So that's right now. That's like we're talking about 6 marks right there. First draft of external document. What does that include? Well, if you look down, right, in terms of looking at external documentation, again, you can see what it includes. It includes a team logo for 1 mark, right? A detailed description of your web app and its core functionality, 1 mark. That's 2. Typography is probably what you should probably have in color section for 1 mark, where you kind of do a few color swatches of what your colors you're going to be using for your site. So that's 3 total, and plus 2 for wireframes is 5. What are wireframes? Wireframes are not a sitemap. All right. Some people have given me like site maps. This is my wireframe. It's not a wireframe. A wireframe, my friends, is when I look at something like a mockups. This is what I recommend. Mockups is probably one that you may want to use if I can actually spell it. Mockups.com. There is a kind of a preview version that you can look at. So let's say, for example, I'm just going to wipe all this out for a second. Woohoo! And I want to make a couple of wireframes for me. What this allows you to do actually is pretty cool. Again, I'm just using this one piece of this one program that's online. So let's say, for example, I have a browser. I'm just going to drag and drop a browser in here, and then from there you can make it as big as you like. Let's say, for example, I want to make it something like this. And by the way, you have different control over your browser. And let's say, for example, I want to add some stuff in there to demonstrate the 4 games. Now, there's different ways to display these things, right? For example, I'm just going to use some basic shapes here for this. So, for example, let's say you want to draw, you know, your games in boxes, right? That are kind of columns. So you make you 1 game, and you could do this. This could be something like of a UI for you, right? So you have each game is in columnar format. Oops, columnar format. There we go. I'll put these all up here. So let's say this is your design, right, for your main game page, right? And again, I'm just, you know, I'm just kind of doing this on the fly, just like I was doing in classes with the board, but I'm just kind of putting it out here for you. There we go. Okay, Tom. Oh yes, tools. So let's say this is part of it, and then the other thing that you want to have here in your page is after you display your games in this area here, maybe you want to have a button down here where you submit your pages for the week. This is your week, you know, to example to the database. So each weekly, you know, or each calendar week, and again, calendar weeks. If I was going to look up what calendar weeks are for people who asked earlier today. So if I say what calendar week am I in? What week are we in? 2016. There we go. And if I look at the calendar week numbers for 2016, we can see that in January we're week 23, or June we're in week 23, right? So I mean, when I look at calendar week, I mean, which week, which number are you on, right? So I mean, weeks normally go from the Saturday or the Sunday to the Saturday. In this particular case, their weeks start from Monday to Sunday, right? Every calendar week can be allocated a little differently. Myself, I look at calendar weeks from Sunday to Saturday. That's the way I do it, right? But again, it's up to you. Each calendar week would have its own games. So I don't expect you to know when the game started and when the game ended for each game. It's just the calendar week that I care about. So you track 4 games per week. Some people ask, well, for my games that I'm tracking for each week, do they have to be, as an example, a specific kind of game? Do I have to make it like, a hockey game, or do I have to make different games? Can I make it the same game? Sure, you can make it like the same type of game. So they're all soccer games, as an example, if you're a soccer fan. Or maybe you're someone who tracks, I don't know, your weekly Magic the Gathering sessions, and you want to track who won in your, who won the draft, as an example, I don't know, on Friday Night Magic. I'm just saying, putting it out there. Then you can certainly,
How do you know this?
I don't know anything. But anyways, let's just say if you want to do something like that, you can certainly, track all this kind of stuff, right? And so you can put some stuff together. Markups isn't a bad little wireframing kit that's online, and you can certainly give controls up here to kind of navigate between one kind of page and another. Like maybe what you want to add in some controls to kind of go into the previous week. Maybe you also want to have controls to go to the next week with a button, your submit button. I'm just putting it out there for you guys. You have your submit button where you want to kind of have this thing, and I'm going to make it so that it's flipped, right? Can I flip this button? Maybe not. Yeah, no, it's not going to work. Anyways, there it is. Here it is, orientation. And then instead of back, you're going to see next, right? So I can double click on that probably. Yeah, next. So I mean, I'm just going by heart here. All right. So the idea is that maybe what you want to do is you want to create an interface that you can kind of submit. The current week. You can also go to the next week and go to the previous week. That kind of stuff. This could be one interface. It doesn't have to be the interface. For example, instead of having these boxes like this, let's get rid of this thing for a second. So you don't have this kind of interface, right? You have an interface where you have swim lanes, right? So same idea, but instead of it being this way, now the games are being played like this. So you have each game is like this way, right? So you have one game, and then you have another game, and so on, and they're this way, right? And maybe the is maybe you have your games in corners. So they take up each quadrant of your screen. Would be a game. I'm going to fix this in a second. Bear with me. So let's just do one of these and copy this one too. Again, this is just an online tool we're using, right? So we get what we pay for, right? Right now, we're not paying for anything. So let's just say, and I can adjust the button layout. So let's say you want to make 4 games or 4 games like this. And what I want to do here is I want to align the games in the quadrants, and then maybe put some kind of graph. I've suggested this earlier, like, I don't know, maybe some kind of graph of the game about how it goes, or some kind of other graph here like this, where you have the game kind of give you statistics about each game. I'm just going to put this out there so you can be wowed and amazed by these graphs, right? But anyways, the idea here is that you have this thing where you can create these wireframes, and it happens pretty quick, guys and girls. It doesn't have to be so crazy, right? And you create the main game page, and each game has a place. And again, I can keep going here, but there's many interpretations of what your game page will look like. But the prime functionality has to be hit, and some of that is things like, as an example, if I look at the functionality here at the top, the main game page is going to track 4 games, right? That's the thing. 4 games of different kinds, right? Game stats and data will be displayed within various elements. And I said various elements because I want to give you some flexibility, enough to hang yourself with sometimes, but only some flexibility, so that way you can have some, structure your pages in any way you like, right? So the answer to some people's questions is like, what am I looking for? I'm looking for 4 games on a page. You figure it out. We'll figure out which way you want to do it that works for you. Think about this game tracker as something you may want to use in the future, or a precursor to a mobile app, like an Android app. And if we go back to what we were doing earlier, like if I was doing one of these, right? If I had 4 games that were this, it's easy that I can see that these games would stack one on top of the other in a smaller width scenario, right? For a mobile device. Like for example, maybe the you know, a smartphone would only be half the width of the screen, and so you can stack 2 games or 3 games or 4 games with a scrollable option here, you know, on one page. Either way, when you create your game, it has to be something that, or your game screen, it has to be something that keeps track of the stats. And I'm looking for things like it says each game itself, the game will have a name, short description. I was asked about this. Do I need a short description? What if it's a baseball game? Do I need to tell you it's a baseball game? No. It's okay if you leave that one out, right? Short description will be there if it's important. If it's a Magic tournament and you're playing, as an example, Commander. I'm just putting it out there. Right? I don't know anything about Magic, but anyways, let's put it out there. You know, or let's play you're playing Modern, or you know, whatever, Standard, or whatever you're going to play. It's totally up to you. I don't know anything about Magic, but at the end of the day, whatever you're playing, maybe that's what you're going to put in there in the description. It makes sense for that kind of contest, right? But if you're playing something else, if you're playing baseball or basketball or football or whatever, or you know, soccer, I think the name of the game would be, you know, soccer matches or whatever. Maybe you want to put that as a header for your whole entire games, and then soccer matches for week number whatever. What's my week number? Then week 23. What soccer matches do I have? Which ones am I watching? Who are the teams and who won, right? And the team would also have sometimes a short description depending on what type of team it is. For example, maybe you want to talk about the team name. The short description can be the players. Who are the players in the team, right? If there's only a player, like for example, if you're playing doubles, I don't know, somehow in Magic, I don't know if you would ever do that kind of thing, but just in case you play those kind of things, or if you have a team of different players, you want to put it in there. Or maybe you like playing, you know, I don't know, some other kind of games that are tabletop games. You may want to put those kind of things in there as well. So this is flexible enough so you can fit any contest in here. It doesn't have to be sports. Obviously, sports are a little easier. I was asked earlier about, hey, do I need to use an RSS feed to get my sports information? Do I have to scrape a website or something? No, you don't have to scrape any websites or get an RSS feed. Can you do it? Absolutely. If you want to go ahead and do that for extra marks, I would give you extra marks for that. Go and scrape a website. Yes. Yeah. So, for example, in a Magic the Gathering kind of game, maybe you'll have 0, right? Because there's no spectators. It's you, the other person, right? Or you and whatever. Maybe there's a ref or something like that, depending if you're doing a tournament or something. But at the end of the day, it really depends on what type of venue, what type of game you're supporting. If it's a large game, like let's say a game in a soccer field or something, yeah, then there's going to be probably hundreds, if not thousands, of spectators, depending on what kind of game it is and who's playing, right? So you probably get it from the game. There's a lot of stats online, dude. A lot of stats. Like if you want to find real-time stats, or just put in a number. I'm okay if you just put in a number too, eh? Like it doesn't have to be accurate, right? I'm not asking for you to to be realistic. All I want you to do is so that I don't want you to enter like, A, B, C, D for your team name. And, I want you to try and fit names that make sense for your game. After the data is entered, you have a registered user who's logged in can use a button or link or control or something to submit the weekly game and team statistics we recorded on the database server. One of the things I got today was some people create an ERD for their database, even though they don't have a database yet, and that's part of part 2, which is next week. They made an ERD anyway. They actually mapped out what their model would look like for their database. That's a good practice. Did I ask for it? No. Is it a bonus mark? Absolutely. Go ahead and do it if you want. If not, it's up to you, right? It's going to help you. Anonymous users may view any game, but they can't make any changes, right? So that's really what it is. It's up to you how you come up with it. So this week, that was due on Wednesday. Again, initial project setup, your page comment headers, first draft of external document we talked about. Okay, if you set it up on repo and it's on Azure and it's functioning, 6 marks. I don't sit there and go, well, it's kind of functioning on Azure. I guess they kind of have it, so I'll make it 5 marks. It could have been better if they used, no, 6 marks. If you put it up on GitHub and Azure, you're good. 6 marks out of 17. So it's not a lot. This is an easy one to get this part 1. And just because I want to be fair, because people had lots of questions on Slack and off of Slack and all that stuff, I'll give you until tomorrow to fix it. So if you have something you want to resubmit by Friday at midnight, that's tomorrow by midnight. And that would be, for those people who are watching the video, June 10th at 11:59, right? 59. You can certainly, submit that, a change if you want to for your team, and that way you can have everything you need. So you're not late. I'm not going to mark you as late if you submit it. It's just, I'm going to give you an extra day after today because we've talked about it, and I didn't have a chance to fully explain it last week. Okay, next week, what's due? Next week, you got to do one game on your main page that's working. That's a functional game by Wednesday, right? So why one? Because you need to set up the database. You need to set up your main game tracking page to see if it works. But the other ones could be stubs. I don't care if those are working or not. One game's got to be functional, right? So I can see that it's working somehow. That you can enter data, save things to the database, all that stuff. Why? Because if you can do one, you can do 4, you can do 10, right? It's not a big deal. That's the idea. Now, instead of page comments, because this week is all about page comments, headers, and what I mean by that is take a stamp of you and your partner and stamp those page comment headers, across all your C# files for now, right? Because they're not going to have any difference. It's just you and your partner's ID everywhere, right? And then for the second week, next week coming up on Wednesday, any method comments and contextual variable names should be all within your code. So things like your method comments should be right up on top of your method headers. That's your 3 marks internal documentation. I'm telling you how to get all your marks 100%, guys. I want everyone to get 100% on these things. External document, when I say updated external document, things that you couldn't do in week 1, like screenshots. You can't do screenshots in week 1. You don't have anything to screenshot. It's just basic setup, right? There's nothing. There's no functionality. But in week 2, you would have functionality. You have your first game. So screenshot it, right? Screenshot some of your stuff that you've got working, like your other pages that you've got going on. So that way, that's an updated document. And then your GitHub repository has to have additional commits. That's really what I'm looking for week 2, right? So one game working, database setup, all that kind of stuff is still worth 17 marks. Week 3 is the big one. This is due the same week as we have our little exam. Our exam for the midterm is week 7, right? And that's going to be a killer day for me because I'm running 3 exams that day for you guys, right? But it'll be all-day exams, right? But it'll be done on the moment that comes in for you guys, section C. 5 o'clock, the exam will start. By 8 o'clock, it'll be completed. I'm going to try and gear it or gauge it for about an hour and a half, approximately, for most people. Should be able to finish in an hour and a half. Some people will go to 7 or 8. It's just going to happen. Some people will finish in an hour, right? It can happen like that too. So I won't make it so hard. I'm going to try and gauge it. So for me, it won't take me that long to do. And it's all going to be the stuff we've talked about. You're probably going to get a template. I'm not going to give you something to start from scratch. You're probably going to have to access the database. Guess whose database is going to be? Hello, right? My database, not yours, right? Why? So everyone can access the same thing. So you don't have to try and do your connection strings and all that. There's just no time for that in an hour and a half. There's too much possibility for error for me to set up that kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
So you're going to protect your database from that.
I'm not protecting it with crapola, buddy, right?
Okay,
So it means if you mess it up, you'll be messing it up for everybody, right? No, I'm joking. I'll do something. Don't worry. Anyway, so that's really week 7 in a nutshell. Really, all you're going to do is you're going to do CRUD or whatever based on the database that I give you, and you're going to be some small assignment that you're going to be putting together that requires some data, as well as the same stuff we've talked about. Master pages. We'll go over this next week a little bit more because next week is I'll do a bit of a review on the things I'm looking for the midterm. Okay, so by week 3, that means that's by this week 7, the same week as your midterm. So on the Wednesday before your midterm, which is good practice for you. All your site security should be up and running. So things and this is all of it. There is no site security on the first parts. Your site security is implemented at the end, right? And then full functionality. All 4 games are working properly, right? An updated responsive design and structure. That means that, well, now that you've got all your things working, you've tested it, you've tweaked it a little bit so it's more responsive than maybe week 1 because you only had one game working. Any additional inline comments to clarify things, and a final version of your external document, including a full table of contents, any updated wireframes, screenshots, all that kind of stuff. Areas that you added extra content. There should be an area that says, hey, here's a real area here. Check the bonus section, Tom. Make it red so I can see it, right? So I can say, hey, I added these features. I want marks, right? So I'll give it to you. Otherwise, if I got to search through needle in a haystack, it's too hard for me to give you bonus marks. So I want to make sure that it's easy for me to find. Please make it so that it stands out, right? So I can find the bonus marks easy. And an updated GitHub repository will be more commits for your final version. Okay, that's really it in a nutshell for part 3, right? So that's due the same week as your midterm. Once we conclude this piece, your midterm's done and your project is done. Next half, like I said, we start MVC. What I probably think of doing is the best projects that I see from part one, projects like project one, I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a dog and pony show for you guys within the first half hour of the day we kind of come in. So I'll probably show you the best projects that I've seen. You know, that I want to, I mean, with your permission, of course, I'll use your document. We'll do a list of your, you know, kind of go on your project website, do a little bit of a walkthrough, and then just 3 or 4 projects just so you see what, you know, what's kind of been put out, right? Okay, any questions around this project number 1 now, right, with the wireframes? Wireframes can be very simple. By the way, how many wireframes do I need? Definitely your main game page. You definitely need that. I would recommend also log in, register, any other pages you want to include. If you're someone who's really pushing to do mobile compatibility as well, you can certainly do that. I don't think it's a negative for you to put some mobile pages in there as well, right? Which means more of these, so different page sizes, you know, for that kind of stuff, which means more wireframes. Okay. Any questions around that? All right. One way we've also been communicating now is Slack, right? So I kind of put out some invites out there for Slack, and I'm just going to check the number of people now. So if I was going to go invite people, we still have quite a few people here for Slack. 19 people are Slackers. They're not joining Slack, right? A bunch of these people haven't. They've gotten invitations, but they didn't join. We're using Slack. Is it required to be on Slack? Absolutely not. But it's kind of a social experiment this semester. What I'm trying to do is put together an area we can talk, you know, where someone can put up a solution. Like for example, John Horn earlier today, he put up a solution for our control style and CSS class was better to use this to solve our edit problems. We'll talk about the editor. The edit link later on, as opposed to item style and CSS class, right? And you can see how you know, this can work. If someone's also viewing remotely, you can certainly, you know, well, I'll check Slack on a regular basis, and if you have a question or whatever, put it up on Slack. If it's true, then I can go back and check it out. And if you guys notice there's a question on Slack, you can always put up your hands. You can say something like, "Tom, you got some questions on Slack," and I'll pause the recording or pause my broadcast and go answer the questions as much as I can, just to make it so it's more interactive. So hi for those people who are saying hi. So that's really cool. Why Slack? Because it's a tool that a lot of companies are starting to use now more often, and it's great for exposure. Like if you want to take a look at Slack and start using it, I mean, you can say that to a potential employer. Hey, look, I've been using Slack within my classroom. It's a way of interacting and collaborating. You can also start off if you want to do a Hangouts, like right from the interface, and I kind of did this earlier. Let's say I want to do a Hangouts with Cindy, right? So let's say I want to do a Hangouts with Cindy. So I search for Cindy on the team directory. So I say Cindy, right? There she is. There's Cindy. And then what I want to do is I can, you know, kind of go into direct message mode, right? And what I can do is if I've incorporated Hangouts in Slack itself, so I can go kind of something like Hangout. And then when I kind of press it in, it says start a Google Hangout. So let's do it, Cindy. So I'm going to kind of do this. I don't know if I can do this while I'm doing a Hangouts on air though, so that might crap out. Oh, you're already in a video call. No, let's just yeah, we're not going to do that because that'll totally mess up my video recording, right? So yeah, so I can do that, and then Cindy would answer, and then I can instantly go into a call right away. And all of you guys have that capability. As long as you allow Hangouts, you can all communicate with each other without knowing each other's numbers. That's the idea. Or you can all text everybody, and we can communicate on a regular basis, and it can be very, very straightforward. So that's really what the thing is for. We've, you know, this week I've been able to find a number of people, partners, right, who weren't able to find partners. That's one of the advantages. And also we can do things like share code. I haven't opened up the developer channel yet. Like, I mean, one person's kind of signed up, maybe two. There we go. But more or less, I mean, developer channels where I want to put all the code, right? So if you want to put your code up, what I'm asking is put up on the developer channel, right? So that way we separate the code from like questions, and that way you can put up any kind of code fixes or whatever here to kind of communicate with each other. Everyone will still see it and so on, but it's another way of kind of splitting up. And if you want me to create another channel, right now I'm the moderator, so you know, for this one, let's say for example you think we needed some other kind of channel other than random in general, then I can certainly put it up on, create another channel for us here on Slack, and then you can use that one as well as another room. So that's enough about Slack. I just want to talk about it a little bit. This is just a communication tool that we're using, and it's optional, but I'm going to be checking it regularly, and I'm going to be making some announcements. I might try and connect with you if you haven't done an assignment, or if you need some, if you need to connect with me directly, you can certainly send me a private message. All right, let's go back to general. So, Slack. All right. Other administrative things, like I said, we've been slogging it out here with web forms. Web forms ends after week 7, and it's good. There's some stuff. Some people asked me earlier today, is there another place I could get some tutorials on web forms? And the answer is good luck. Try and find them. They're really hard, especially with what we're doing. Web forms with EF framework, database first approach. Good luck. I would send me a link, because I don't know if there's anything like that out there, right? So that's why I'm telling you, it's you have to watch the videos or read the book. The book is pretty good as well. So what are we doing today? I'm starting off with a project that is up on GitHub. I'm just going to show you the GitHub project. On GitHub, there's a project called COMP2007 under Georgian College. Summer 2016, lesson 4C. This is your lesson from last week. Why am I using yours? Because yours seems to be the best one at the end of the day, right? So I'm using this one as a template. That's why I'm going to make that. So I'm going to start off, Visual Studio here. And remember how we did this last time. When I choose 4C, I launch 4C first. By the way, my Visual Studio broke. I had to reinstall it, and I got update 3 release candidate, right? So it looks like it's pretty stable. I'm not going to say it's not. Not that I suggest you do that kind of stuff, but it worked for me. So COMP 2007, Summer 2016, Lesson 4C is the one I'm using. So that's the one we did last time together, right? Now, if you really want to and you lost it somehow, you can certainly go up to GitHub and download it again and start from there. Okay, so how do I make a template for those people who forgot? I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Export Template. And then I'm going to choose Lesson 4C as an example. Click Next. And I'm going to rename this lesson from Lesson 4C to Template 2C. That's the one I'm using, right? And then this a short description like Template 2 for COMP 2007, Section C as an example. Click Finish. And what this is going to do is going to generate a template for me. In the background, you may also, if you try this, it may pop up a little zip file as well. Ignore it. Now I'm going to close down my solution. And what's the advantage of creating a template? The great thing about it is, if I start a new project, right, and if I click on COMP 2007 Template 2C, right, I can change this, of course, to Lesson 5, Lesson 5C. All right, and then when I press OK, it's going to create not just the new project, but it's also going to do things like rename all my namespaces. So now they're all COMP 2007. It's going to keep my default connection string, the same thing that I had before. So everything that we worked on last week is still intact, but we still can modify the stuff we have this week. Okay, so these are good things. Okay, this is flashing, which means this is just showing me where it went. Okay, so I've got this piece down, and we're going to continue with the students' pages, right? Students' pages. Last week we did the C and the R of CRUD, so create and read, but we didn't have a chance to get into update or delete. And I'll tell you that delete is much easier than updating. Updating takes a lot more effort, lots of code, and so on. We're also going to try and hit this week paging, so pagination, paging and sorting. Right, so how are we going to do that? Those are the two functions. On that, if you look up on Blackboard, you can see that under weekly learning for this week, if I go to week 5, there is a new lab, lab 3, that's up. It's due this Monday, the 13th at midnight. It's to be done with you and a partner or by yourself if you don't feel like working with anybody because somehow you don't trust anybody. I'm just saying, right? Again, you'll work with the same database. Nothing against you, buddy. But what you're going to do is you're going to update the departments table, right? So instead of like the departments page, we don't have a departments page updated. We've done students. So I want you to do the same work we're going to be doing with students, finish up what we're doing here, and then do it with departments. So kind of kick off a departments page, fix it, do the department details, and it's going to include things like a grid view, an edit and delete link with JavaScript confirmation. We'll talk about JavaScript confirmation. I ran some issues with that today. We'll try and fix that. And we're going to enable sorting. Okay, one thing we will do is sorting. There is no paging though. Paging is not there, but sorting is there. So people ask me, is it paging or sorting? I probably said paging, but it really meant sorting. So you want all the sorting functions that I talk about today, you're going to have to implement with your departments page as well. All right, and then your department details will allow you to both add a new department or edit an existing department. Right, and we'll talk about what that is later on. So this lab 3 again due Monday, June 13 at midnight for you and a partner, potentially. So when you submit your work, please tell me who you're working with. It's really annoying when I'm like, so this guy didn't do it, and she didn't do it, and he didn't do it, and no one did it. Only like half the class did it, and then no one's telling me who their partners are. What am I going to do, chase you? Right? Just tell me who you're working with, and then it's easy for me to mark, right? Worst case, ask me to create a group for you, and I'll make it up on Blackboard. So then you can just one person can submit, and both people get the same mark. I'm okay with that, but we need to set all that up together. All right, so lab 3. This is what we're doing today, and I'm going to try and help you do all the rest of the parts of this, and that's why we're going through all the details that we've been going through. Okay, lots of parts to this, lots and lots of code. I know some people found it a little bit tedious today when I was typing away. They were like, whew. Holy crap, Tom, there's lots of stuff going on. Yes, indeed there is. There's tons and tons of stuff. I've got code like crazy that I have to go through, and there's very little time to get through it all, and tons of code to write. So, and I would be remiss, I'd be very upset if I lost my code. That would be bad, because there's no way that I want to do this by hand. There's too much stuff to write. Did I? Ha ha ha. Oh, Tom. And people have to bear with me while I try and find my slipshot paperwork that I have going on. Player shooting. Yes. Player core. I probably can remember most of it, but it's a pain in the ass to do it all. And I want you guys to see the way we build it by hand, because it's actually quite cool what we can do. I just don't know where I put my paperwork, which is really bad. I may have left it in the other room. I think the elves stole it. That's what I think. I think it's been stolen, guys. Someone stole my paperwork. That is bizarre. This is terrible. Anyways, I know how to do it. It's just I want to be more accurate when I do it, because I'm going to mess stuff up, and it's going to take way longer to do it if I do it by myself than if I already have a plan. And that's why I do it this way that I do it, because I want to make sure that that I get it done. So I'm going to take a short break, right? Because I think I've left it in the other room, and then I'm going to come back. I have all my notes. Absent-minded professor. Okay. Magic the Gathering. Right. So let's take a short break. This is a great place to pause while I'm setting up. And for those people who are watching, it is what it is, guys. I'll be right back, and we'll get to this in a second.